Hi, my name is Scarlett, and I'm an atheist and skeptic, and today we are getting right down into the video. Welcome to part 2 of my response to Redeemed Zoomer's glib and incurious responses to all atheist arguments ever, no take-backsies. And proving that it takes longer to refute bullshit than to spew it, I need multiple videos to cover RZ's points. In a previous video, I looked at this atheist argument wheel, and then I did a part where I looked at the first 6 arguments RZ presents. Today, I'm continuing my examination. To repeat my stance, to me, atheism is a response to theistic claims. Without theists telling me I need to adopt their belief structure, I wouldn't feel the need to say anything. So, as in part 1, I will be looking at why an atheist would be making these arguments. Most of RZ's points concern his version of Christianity, and Christians have specific reasons, aka talking points, for wanting me to adopt their version of God. Once I talk about the context of the argument, I'll talk a little bit more about RZ's response, or non-sponse, as the case may be. Enough blibbity-blab, away we go.
The Bible has contradictions. Okay, you think you found an apparent contradiction that the church hasn't known about for 2,000 years? Every apparent contradiction can be explained by understanding just a little bit of theology.
The main reason an atheist would talk about Bible contradictions is a Christian wants to uphold the Bible as some perfect message from their God. And Christians often say they think an action is correct because Bible. Jesus was God because Bible. They often justify their belief in God by saying, Bible says God am real. Sorry, I think I was channeling Sir Sick there. I've been watching a lot of his videos lately, and it just kind of gets in my brain, leaks in there somehow. Anyway, back to this. I am sure that some Christians who were taught the inerrancy of the Bible might find their faith shaken when they discover that there are contradictions. But a lot of Christians happily continue in their faith with the explanations RZ alludes to. This dismissive tone, oh, you think you found something new, is unhelpful because it doesn't have to be new to be valid. And sure, there are whole apologetics around resolving contradictions, so some Christians will find their issues solved by reading those apologetics. I have to say, Bible contradictions are not why I became an atheist. I was raised Catholic and taught the Bible was inspired by God and written by imperfect humans. We were not invited to wonder why a perfect deity couldn't get a perfect text communicated, but there you go. I was also taught that some of the Bible was allegory, like Genesis, some law books, Leviticus, some imperfect history, like Kings. None of the imperfections shook anyone up. Everybody all nodded along to the Bible reading and the sermon at Mass. Apparently, RZ is of the stripe of Christian that as long as a church father explained away the issues to his satisfaction, he's good. And again, this is less about atheism and more about Christians thrusting their book as a perfect representation of the past. It isn't. Not only are there contradictions, and that's undeniable, it conflicts with reality. Not that RZ will care, because he's got a church explanation. By the way, there are lots of coherent works of fiction that make perfect logical sense and with great characters. Doesn't make them true. And to round this section out, there are a lot of books that make claims about gods. It is not the book that proves the claim. Gods could still exist without any book describing them. That is, the Bible could still be false and some Christian conception of God wrong, but a God still could exist. Let's move on.
The Gospels were anonymous. Okay, anonymous doesn't mean we have no idea who wrote them. It just means the names of the authors aren't signed in the text itself. But we literally have writings from church fathers who knew the apostles and can verify that they indeed wrote the books named after them.
LOL, I just have to laugh. Anonymous doesn't mean anonymous. That's awesome. Dude can't words. Just do one Google search and you will find that anonymous does in fact mean anonymous. We don't know who wrote the Gospels, and honest Bible scholars will say that. According to Bart Ehrman, these texts likely circulated orally before being written down. And once again, not really any argument about atheism or God. Why would an atheist make this argument? Because again, a Christian thrusts the Bible in your face and declares it some inerrant depiction of reality that we really need to accept because these are God's perfect words, etc., etc. It wouldn't matter if we did know for sure who the authors were. And it was common enough back then for documents to circulate without authorship anyway. There were some great medieval works whose authorship is unknown. But even if Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were eyewitnesses and were in fact the authors, we would need more than their say-so that these events took place and that Jesus is God. I think the fact that they aren't eyewitnesses is more problematic for Christians who need to hold to some perfect historical account of Christ's life, because if you need that to be true, you got a problem. But even if we knew the authors, even if we knew for sure a dude named Jesus did some street preaching back in the day, it wouldn't make the miracle claims or his status as God true. I had never heard this reference to St. Ignatius, and there really is no corroboration of the thing that is in the speech bubble that RZ presents here. Apparently it's just church tradition that he knew John, but there's not corroboration of that. He is said to have left behind some epistles, but there is a dispute about their authenticity. And look what John Calvin wrote. Rubbish published under Ignatius's name, lol cats. So conclusion, who cares? This has nothing to do with atheism. This is more important for a certain variety of Christian who really needs these stories to be accurate accounts. Next.
The Gospels misquote Jesus. Now, it's true that a lot of secular scholars think the Gospels are a mix of real quotes from the historical Jesus and fake quotes added by the church, but none of them can agree on which quotes are legit and which are not, so we can discard their opinions.
I have to laugh at this. Experts don't agree, so I can throw it all away. Yeah, that's how that works. I mean, how incurious are you about reality? It boggles the mind. Now, I really don't care about the specific words that Jesus said in the Bible. Like, I don't care exactly what Krishna said to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, or what Athena said to Achilles when she held back his braid to keep him from killing Agamemnon in the Iliad. I just realized how many A names there are in that freaking book. Anyway, I don't accept the supernatural elements of those stories. And the Gospels to me are just that, stories. Once again, an atheist making this claim is pushing back on the idea of Christians that the Bible is some perfect document, a perfect record of the life of Jesus. Now, the person pictured in this slide is Bart Ehrman, and he is a biblical scholar. And I imagine he finds it super interesting to know what Jesus actually said. And by the way, there are lots of people, including some former Christians, who find biblical scholarship interesting. They can all talk about it and try to come to some consensus. Ehrman is the thorn in the side of Christians who need the Bible to be the literal work of Jesus, as described by eyewitnesses, and I've seen lots of apologists demonize his work. Now, I would think that RZ, and any Christian wanting to be a true follower of Jesus, would be invested in this discussion and want to get it right. But I guess it's easier to ignore the people who spend the bulk of their life studying this stuff in favor of your divine inspiration, i.e., whatever random thought pops into your brain. Next.
Jesus never claimed to be God. Yes, he did. He didn't say, I am God, worship me, but he showed that he was God in many places in all four Gospels by doing things that only God can do. It's true that he didn't walk around before his resurrection claiming to be God, because he wanted people to figure it out themselves. That's why he kept saying, who do you say that I am? However, after his resurrection, people figured out that he was God, and Jesus congratulated them.
This is the funniest one so far. This just makes me laugh and laugh. Jesus congratulated the people who figured out he was God. Jesus, the game show, where he brings contestants on, like the Masked Singer, to guess his identity. Today on the show, we have Mary Martha, a fisherman's wife from Galilee who likes to make lace and cheese in her free time. Mary Martha, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to be here. Mary, who do you say I am? God! Congratulations, Mary. You win 33 sheep and a trip to Bethlehem to see my birthplace. Okay. Laughter aside, this suffers the same issues as the previous ones. This is only relevant to Christians, And if atheists bring this up, it is in response to Christians holding up the Bible as some perfect document and account, yada, yada, yada. It doesn't matter what Jesus said about himself. It doesn't make it true. We need corroboration of that. Jesus didn't say he was Lisa the rainbow giraffe. Leaf be upon her. But maybe he was, because reasons. Moving on.
The later one of the Gospels was written, the more divine it makes Jesus seem, so we can extrapolate that Jesus was originally a human figure who got made more divine over time. Alright, maybe some Gospels emphasize Jesus' divinity more than others, but what about Paul's letters that fully confess the divinity of Jesus and were also written before any of the Gospels? So that breaks your pattern.
So, I guess RZ agrees with the argument. It's just not a big deal? To me, this, like the previous answer, just shows how incurious RZ is about a document that is the basis for an important belief. But okay. I don't know why we care what Paul thinks, since he did not meet the living Jesus. I see Paul as another one of those flim-flam preachers feeding his narcissistic need. But then again, I'm cynical. And again, like the previous item, this is something that biblical scholars talk about. An atheist bringing this up would be addressing the Christian claim that the Bible is a completely perfect message from the deity. On a tangent, as a literary scholar, I do find this point super interesting. I started out life as a medievalist, so I love to see the evolution of myths and legends. I took a course in which each student was given a different manuscript of the French version of the Swan Knight, Le Chevalier au Cygne, from the 12th century. We had to inventory what was in each manuscript, how many lines our version was, and compare it to the other students. We looked at interpolations and omissions. We engaged with the scholarship and tried to determine a chronology of these manuscripts, which one was original, who had copied who, and so on. A lot of people just see the Bible as this book that just exists, but it is a document that has been cobbled together, decided by church leaders for purposes that suited them. I would think you would want to know all of this stuff so that you can make your own determination. To conclude this section, I do get that for a lot of Christians, the Bible needs to be a perfect document for them to maintain their faith. But then again, a lot of Christians don't give a shit about any of this. It isn't a deal breaker for their religion, and accepting these claims doesn't mean you'll become an atheist. Moving on.
The Bible supports slavery. No, it doesn't. Just because there's slavery in the Bible doesn't mean the Bible supports it. There are some Old Testament verses that could be interpreted as condoning slavery, but Jesus himself said that the Old Testament made accommodations to people's sinful state. And also, slave owners in the American South had slave Bibles for their slaves to read, but it omitted a lot of the real Bible, so if the Bible actually did support slavery, this wouldn't have been necessary.
Like the topics above, I really don't care what the Bible says. I didn't discover that the Bible condoned slavery and lose my faith. But by the way, the Bible totally does condone slavery. Leviticus specifically gives rules for owning slaves. Your boy Paul specifically says, slaves, obey your masters in Ephesians 6. Jesus didn't take any of that back. He didn't say don't own slaves. He said to obey the Old Testament. And the fact that there was a slave Bible has nothing to do with whether it supported it or not. I mean, slave owners thought they were acting appropriately. And, if slaves saw that God supported slavery, they would accept their condition as being natural. This is just dumb. Supporters of slavery didn't see it as wrong, and they saw that the Bible said it was fine. I mean, we've changed our mind today. There are very few people that think that slavery is A-okay. Anyway, the only reason atheists bring this up is when Christians say that their God is all good and is the source of morality, or that you need God to be moral. This is not an argument against theism. It is an argument against an all-loving God who is the source of good and whose document is a perfect source of morality. Going on.
Christianity supported slavery. Well, sure, some Christians did, but all human civilizations have had slavery. Christian civilization was the first one to abolish it on moral grounds. The fact that you're against slavery is due to Christian influence. Also, most organizations fighting modern-day slavery are Christian.
Well, RZ really is showing that contradictions can exist in Christianity. You can be a slave owner or an abolitionist and both think that God supports your position. Who'da thunk? Professor Blink has a list of non-Christian countries and orgs that abolished or are working to abolish slavery, so I won't replicate that work here. Basically, Christians, you're not the only one. Why atheists would be talking about this is not in relation to a belief in God. A God could support slavery and want his believers to support slavery. But it's the claim that you need God or you need Christianity to be a good person. By the way, I like how people wanting to excuse participation in slavery all resort to the, yeah, but everyone else is doing it excuse. Yeah, but you're the one saying your morals are inspired by the perfect God of love, the one who organized the whole universe. All those other people are just ignorant humans bumbling through life like the rest of us. That's all we're going to say. We're moving on.
God killed tons of people in the Bible. Well, it's actually way more than that. God numbers everyone's days. He's the giver of life, so he can take it, especially if people sin.
Wow, way to dodge the point, dude. God drowning every being or people dying in a genocide he commanded is the same as Aunt Betty dying in her sleep? So again, this argument comes up when Christians claim their God is all good and wants good things for us, wants a relationship with us. And it might come up when they claim that we need God to get our morality. Like, is this a moral being that does these things? And of course, sin is the hand-wave explanation for Christians. There is a whole apologetic about how we have free will and we're just choosing to do bad and God has to punish us. He has no choice. As though he didn't set up this whole system. Christians have ways around all of this, and it makes sense to them, doesn't make any sense to me. But just to be clear, this is not a defeater for any God, because God could be a cruel asshole. And judging by what he does in the Old Testament, he is that. Let's keep going.
Atheist countries are more prosperous. Yes, it's true that Northern European countries are very prosperous and very secular, but correlation doesn't equal causation. It's not like atheism causes prosperity, it's that prosperity causes atheism, because when people have comfortable lives, they don't feel a need to depend on God. But why are these particular countries so prosperous in the first place? They may be secular now, but they're rooted in generations and generations of Protestant Christianity. If you want an example of a country that's atheist and not rooted in Christianity, look at communist China.
Not an argument against theism. Again, how prosperous a country is, or frankly, you are as a person, has nothing to do with the existence of a God. This argument about atheist countries being more prosperous is likely to come up in discussions about whether religion is better or worse for society, and especially when religion influences the direction of a country. Of course, atheists think that we need to remove religion, like focus on science or focus on what you need to for the politics. Don't worry about the religion part, that's a personal matter. But theists think that we need religion to be good people or to have God's blessings or whatever. Going to depend on the flavor of theist. I'm not going to talk about this a whole lot. Professor Plink has looked into this topic pretty well. You can check out his statistics. I'll just make a couple of points. RZ gives credit to religion in the past as to why these countries are prosperous today. He doesn't cite any studies backing his point up. His discussion really is without nuance and just like his opinion man. But note that he didn't even consider the intersection of religion and war at all in our previous video in his point number 1. He found a number he liked about how many wars were religious, and he called it a day. And here he's happy to give religion any credit. So he is cherry picking, deciding which things count and which things don't. He can do that in his mind, but it's just not going to be convincing out here in the real world. And by the way, China is the second economy by GDP in the world now. It's true that not every individual is prosperous in China, but that's true in the good old US of A too. Let's move on.
There's 4,000 gods that people believe in, and you're atheist to 3,999 of them. I just go one god further. Okay, this isn't the gotcha that you think it is, because the question of whether some sort of God exists is fundamentally different from the question of which religion is right about God. If God...
That is adorable that you think this is a gotcha. If I were you, RZ, I would explore why you perceive it as such, because it really isn't. It isn't an argument either, or a claim, really. It is merely an attempt to get you to understand where an atheist might be coming from. The only reason an atheist will say this to someone is because the theist is just so obtuse about not getting why we don't believe in their one special, precious, obvious God. I know that those other gods are just made up for you, Zeus, Thor, Ganesh. But you see, we feel that way about your God. That's all this point is saying. Next up.
If God created everything, then who created God? Well, God is defined as the uncaused causer. Everyone knows there needs to be a first cause at the beginning of the chain of all events in the universe, and it makes a lot more sense for that first cause to be a personal God who caused things for a reason, rather than some random impersonal force.
Did William Lane Craig enter the chat? I don't recognize his voice here. But seriously, this isn't a claim or an argument at all. It's a question. It is indeed a question to get you think about the nature of the God you claim exists, but it's not an argument. And everybody knows, dude learned a science. While RZ might think a natural cause doesn't make sense, and he prefers the WLC-Kalam explanation, scientists who study the Big Bang disagree. They don't see the need for any theistic inserts into their models, so you can define your God as a fish taco, but that doesn't mean it's true. What can you actually demonstrate? Okay, this is where we'll leave it today. I think we're about halfway through his video now. I will put up some more responses to these arguments next week. But I think you can see my point that these arguments are all over the map in terms of why an atheist might say them to a Christian. They're not ones you just say on their own. They're always in response to something that a Christian claims. But what are your thoughts? You can put them in the comments section below, and while you're down there, you can like and subscribe and do all the YouTube stuff. You know I love when you do the YouTube stuff. And if you like what I do, you can buy me a coffee. That link is also in the description below, and I will see you in the next one for more responses to atheist arguments. See you then.